What have I gone? Hello and welcome along to this stream tonight. I shall try and make myself appear on the stream. There we go. Bit of a strange one. So yeah, welcome along. I hope everyone is doing well this evening. Things are. I'm here now. Things are good with me. Starting to get back to some sort of normality here in Scotland. Kids are back to school. Schools are open, so things are, like I say, getting back to some sort of normality. It's a bit strange now though, because kids aren't here all day, so I was kind of getting used to them being here. I'm gonna have to get used to them not being here again. But hey ho, life goes on. So, excuse me. This evening, the plan is we've been working on a few things the last few streams. I'm just going to try and remind myself what we've been working on. I know Daddy is missing his little misses, indeed. So we fixed the CI build for Box Starter last week. We were looking into shipping new versions of the Cake extension for Azure DevOps. We were working on Cake.recipe, running on .NET Core. So there's been a little bit of backwards and forwards on a few things. So I know we haven't looked at GitReleaseManager in a while. GitReleaseManager, we worked on a succession of a few streams back to back, and then we kind of got to a natural kind of stopping point with it. But the reason I want to get back to it is that there's been a fairly large-ish pull request come in from a community member by the name of, I'm going to go with Arthur Kordowski, and he's basically rewritten GitReleaseManager in a good way, and I wanted to take some time to go through it and hopefully get it merged in. So the impetus for this is that for the longest time, well, let's go back to the start. GitReleaseManager used to be called GitHub Release Manager, and it was a tool that was created originally by the guys over at Particular Software. And when they first created it, they were solely using GitHub. So GitHub was being used to all their source code, all the releases went through it, and that was that. Now, when I took over maintenance of this project, the idea originally was to make it work in places other than GitHub. So the idea and the renaming there was to go from GitHub Release Manager and create this thing called Git Release Manager. The idea being that it would work on any Git web provider that you wanted to use. And then kind of life got in the way, and it never changed away from just GitHub. It was always just being used on GitHub. Now, in the last couple of versions, two versions ago, I did a little bit of effort, and that was literally the bare minimum amount of work to try and stub out a mechanism to break apart the coupling to GitHub and make it so that, in theory, another provider could be implemented for, say, the likes of GitLab or whatever one you wanted to use. Now, what Arthur here has done is he has went further, and so that initial refactoring that I did, which broke apart the provider or rather implemented a provider mechanism to allow another one to slot in, he's gone further and broken it apart further. And in doing that, he has added in another layer. So I had the concept of an IVCS, so VCS version control system provider. He's gone down another layer and he's now got an IVCS service. So breaking down those things apart. So the provider provides direct access to the API, and the service is using the API to do stuff. So there's lots of refactoring in this. You can kind of see what's going on. He's got 39 commits here. There's 82 files have changed, and yeah, it's quite a big PR, but it's also a lot of work. I just realized that my screen isn't quite showing everything I wanted to, so let's bring this in a little bit. So yeah, he's done a lot of work, and I think we need to review it, and I'm hoping to get it pulled in. GHRM or GRM, only one. Yeah, the difference is just that one layer. Yeah. So I know that in the process of this PR, Kim's involved in this. Kim Admiring Worm is involved in this PR discussion as well. And I know that he's at least taken a little bit of a look at it, but I wanted to take it for a spin and basically see what it's doing. So before the stream started tonight, I have kind of gone through the current state of play. So if we go back up here, I have had a cursory look through the changes that have been made, and in principle, I've got no real objections to it. One thing I did want to point out is I did a video on this the other day, and it's just amazing. So I'm going to have to talk about it here as well. So let me find a link for what I'm going to talk about just now. And let's go up here, and let's go up here. And where is it? Over here. And then, yeah, let's go in here. And let's go and copy this. I'm going to put this up onto the stream. And I'm also going to put it into the chat. So I did a PR. I did a video on kind of as a maintainer of a GitHub project, how can you provide feedback to a PR, and how can you maybe make some modifications to the PR if they're required. And one of the things that came out in this video, and one of the things I got told about, and it was by Kim, is there's this little utility tool called GH. It's the GitHub command line client, and it's amazing, right? So what this allows us to do, what change did I make here before I lose it? So I think it was just a extra line, wasn't it? So let's just take a note of the file, release.cs. So let me show you what I've done just before the stream. So I'm going to do git checkout develop and git reset hard, git checkout develop, right, and git branch -d feature, get rid of it. And I really want to get rid of it. Right. So in a previous life, right, if I wanted to have a look at this PR from Arthur, what I would probably have done would have been one of two things. I would have either fetched the PR branch directly, just using the git fetch command and then creating a branch and loading it locally. Or what I would have done is I would have right-clicked on here, open a new tab. I would have grabbed Arthur's remote here. I would have went to the command line. I would have went git remote add Arthur with that URL, get fetched from that remote, and then checked out that branch. Because the reason for that is it would allow me to then push changes back into Arthur's branch. Now, Kim told me about this amazing little tool called GR. And with this thing, that's amazing, right? So I could do GHPR list. So this GitHub little utility is then knows what repository I'm in, because it's obviously looking at the .git folder locally on my folder that I've got checked out, and I can say git GHPR list, and it'll list out all the PRs that are available or are currently open on this repository. And if I wanted to, I could do things like git PR view 265 -- web, and it'll open up that PR in my browser that I've got, whatever browser you're using as the default browser on the machine. That's amazing, right? And then if I do GHPR checkout 265, then it'll go to that 265 PR, it'll fetch it, pull it down locally, it'll check out a new branch with that name, but the important bit here is it's added a new ref. And it's added a new ref back to that PR branch. So now I'm in this branch, but if I do git push, it's going to push the changes that I've made back into Arthur's PR, right? So I did already know about it. I knew about it when it first came out. I played with it, but it didn't do any of this stuff, or more specifically, it didn't do the latter part, which was the GHPR checkout. That's something that I've been looking for forever, right? If I go back to GitHub here, and let's see if I can find it. Let's look at my pull requests that I have currently still got open. See if I can find it. There, this one. There's this project called Git Extras, and I was trying to work with the creator of this thing to include the creation of. Oh, it's here. I created an issue for it. Question about using the Git PR. So this is back in 2016. So what I wanted to be able to do was be able to run the Git PR command, which Git Extras gave you, and have it know about the upstream where it is coming from. And back and forth with this guy, it never came to anything. So I'd kind of given up on it, and that's why I started using the whole git remote add, git fetch remote, blah blah blah, because I kind of got into the habit of doing that. Right now, so I'll have to update this PR to say that. See, and then they were suggesting that tools such as Hub. So Hub is the precursor to the GHCLI. Now, so like I say, this is something I've wanted forever. And now that Kim's told me about it, it's like I need to tell people about it. So that was the purpose of the video that I created, to kind of walk people through kind of how to submit changes back to a PR. But anyway, now that I've got this PR locally on my machine, I can then do obviously the kind of standard things, which is to git rebase on the current develop, because I'd made some changes and they need to be included there. But now if I do a git push, it's going to attempt to push that to Arthur's branch, right? But that's going to fail, obviously, because, well, I've rebased it. So I would need to do git push -f. No, hold on. Someone's talking about me on Twitter. I'll have to go and read it properly. 3 minutes watching Git 30 on Twitter. I've learned a new tool, GitHub GitHub. It's amazing. It's amazing. Yes, you should definitely use it. If you're in the chat room, you should say hi, Yuri. And if I'm pronouncing your name wrong, I do apologize. I've not been watching 3 minutes. There we go. Beautiful. So yeah, but there's so much more than that. So if you do gh-h, obviously, then it has lots of things. So you can even create PRs through it. You can merge PRs through it. You can call APIs. It's amazing, right? And it's come on leaps and bounds. Seemingly, Kim's been using it for a while, and he's seen it kind of increase in functionality recently. And like I say, the killer one for me was the PR. The fact that I can check out a PR, have the branch locally, and then submit changes back into it. It's literally a showstopper for me. So I'm going to say git push -f, and I'm going to push this into here, and I'm just going to let Arthur know that I have I've rebased his PR. So let's go down here. Blah 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 blah. It's down here, and let's say, Arthur, I am reviewing this PR just now on my Twitch stream, and have just rebased the PR onto the head of the develop branch. Got a couple other little things to look at as well. Just wanted to give you a heads up. Okay. What have you linked me to there? Oh, I see what you linked. I don't know if that will flow through, but yeah, for anyone that hasn't seen it before, you must have seen it by now. The GitHub client is indeed magic. Yes. So if you haven't played with it, go out there. You can do a Choco install if you're on, because that's literally what I did earlier on this machine. So I did a Choco install GH or HG, not to be confused with HG. That's something different. So Choco install GH, or if you're on a Mac, you can do brew install, and yeah, have at it because it's amazing, right? So I was in the process of reviewing this PR, and there was a couple of things I noticed. So this was one of them. Needed an extra space there, and I'm going to go back to the PR and have a look at some of these new files. So there were some new files added, and the style cop header hadn't been included. And I did actually know that as well, Maurice. I did know that Paul was maintaining that. So yeah, credit to Paul for doing that. So there was some, let's just check to see if these do it. And they do. Okay, so there was some missing headers in this thing. So let's go through them all, and then we'll change the names. So one of the things I did notice is that some of the new files that have been added don't have the style cop header, and we'll need to add those in. But one of the things that's included in the style cop header is the name of the file. So rather than lose what's on my clipboard, I will add the header in, and then we can go back and fix it. Oops, that one did it the wrong way around. That was one of the other things that Arthur added into the PR is he added shouldly into the mix. So shouldly is used when doing unit testing. It makes certain things easier. Oh, that's because I've not got my earphones in. I'll put my earphones in. That's why you're hearing stuff. Let me do this, and then let me make sure that they're connected. Thank you for that, Maurice. Let's make sure that they're connected. Okay, so hopefully you shouldn't hear any other sounds coming through. So this is a class called this, so that goes in there. This is a class called publish commands, that goes in there. This is one called open. So what I'm changing just now is not critical to the PR itself, but I did want to address them while I saw them, because otherwise they'll get forgotten about once they go back in, once they get pulled in. Let's do this. Oh, there's a comment. That maybe means that Arthur's online. That could be interesting. Okay, so that was those. And where were we? That was GitReleaseManager, core tests. That was the commands. There's another one in the provider, so we might need to borrow this line again. And then let's look in here. And oh, even better. Thank you very much, Maurice. You are a superstar. So that was those new files that we've captured, and then for test, ensure test. So that was this one. Back to here. Added this, and then this one. That one. Oh, not too far. Sure tests. Core tests. That's the one we just added, wasn't it? That was, it was. We did that one. Oh, there's another one there. Sneaky. Copy. This one. This one. That's that one. Integration tests. GitHub provider integration tests. GitHub provider integration test is this one. Back to here. Copy. Paste. This one there. That one, that's a CS proj. That's not a new file, so that should already have it. This one, BCS mock. That one had it. So they got added in some, but not the others. So that's in the command. We went through those ones, didn't we? Or was that the test? Have a look. Command. Okay, so add them here too. So copy that one. So this is kind of a boring part of the stream, but also necessary. But this part here, it does let you see part of the one of the main parts of the refactoring that he did, which was to break everything out into a standalone command, which makes it much easier to reason about what's going on from a command line perspective. And undo that. Do that. I am implying that I'm boring. I get told that all the time by my kids. So yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Like I say. Paste. Close that off. Copy. Paste. Oh no, I didn't say that. No. You're all more than welcome to stay around. I'm just worried that you find me boring and you'll all run off. But no, I'm more than happy to have you here. I command. I won't say it again. My kids will probably still say it, but that's to be expected. My youngest child came out with the funniest word yesterday. So I was giving her a shower. 3-year-old. She was wanting a shower, or it was time for it was her night for a shower. So I gave her a shower, and she came out of the shower, and she told me that shower daddy was a calamity, as in it was a complete shambles. It didn't work properly. Blah blah blah. And I'm like, calamity? Where did you hear the word calamity? Because I don't think it's normal for a 3-year-old to come out with a word called like calamity. And she told me that she'd heard it on watching the Mr. Men show. I was like, okay, fair enough. But it was quite cute to hear a 3-year-old come out with the word calamity. It made me laugh, made me smile. Yes, we need this one next. So this. An event causing great and often sudden damage or distress. That's the one. So that's what she said her shower was like. And I'm like, it wasn't quite that bad, I don't think. exceptions. So that's in here, PI exceptions. But it did make me smile. Hi, Arthur. So I was going to say I don't have any good reason, but I do. I mean, it's historically always been there, and it was always there when we used style cop for ensuring that it was there. So, so if we're making a decision to remove it, I think we had that discussion later. But given that half the files or the majority of the files do have the header, and the new ones that are added as part of this PR don't, then we should make them the same. So that's what I'm doing at the minute. So I'm just quickly going through, because like I say, some of the ones you added, so this iVCS service, that might have been a refactoring of the original one. It does have it. So if for no other reason than consistency at the minute, we will include it, and then we can discuss as part of a separate scope of work to perhaps remove it. But that comes down to a larger conversation about which style cop rules we include and which ones we don't. So that's kind of my thinking there. So for now, let's put them in. So issue already had it, but these new models that you added that I saw as part of the PR, we'll need to add them into there. And well, I should say, by the way, thank you very much for all the work that you've done on this so far. I mean, I was just saying at the start of this stream that it was kind of time to come back around to looking at GitReleaseManager. I went through a little bit of a process of focusing on some of the other open source projects that we had, or I have rather, and we'd come to a natural stopping point with GitReleaseManager for the last release. But now that you're progressing it forward, it was time to come back around to look at this again. So that's where we are tonight on tonight's stream. So I was saying as well before you joined, before the stream started, I had a look over the main contents of the PR that you've put in, and yeah, I mean, I don't have any. I've got no issues with it so far from what I've seen. The refactoring that you've done in terms of breaking the provider model and extracting some of the stuff into a service class and the iVCS service, kind of removing that coupling. I think all that makes sense to me. So it was just, this is one of the things that stood out when I was going through it. So I just wanted to make sure that this was caught before we go too much further. And I did, as I said, I mentioned that I'd rebase your PR branch on the latest develop branch, because there was a couple of dependable PRs that I merged just before the stream started as well. So that's why I force pushed your PR. As part of this work or as part of a later scope of work? Because I mean, from what I saw in this PR, I think it's getting quite big. There's lots of changes. So yeah, later. So yeah, it's absolutely we can do additional refactorings once it's pulled in. Like I say, it would be interesting to see what I forget the name of the other contributor. There was what's his name? Saying it's a he. I don't know for sure. I'm not even going to try. This person would like to work on a Git IA. I'm assuming that's how it's pronounced. A Git IA provider for GitReleaseManager. So Git IA, for those that don't know, I thought I pressed the button. Git IA is an open source re-implementation of essentially GitHub written in Go under an MIT license. You can install it on your machine and you get a full Git experience using this. I believe it's Git. Okay. I don't know how to pronounce that. I'll have to think about it. But anyway, this person would like to create a. He would like to make GitReleaseManager work with that, and the work that is it. Sorry, is it Arthur or is it Artur? I don't know how to pronounce your name. I like knowing how to pronounce names, so I'm going to go with Arthur at the minute. And if it's wrong, I apologize. The work that Arthur's done in this one should make it much easier to do that implementation. Now that everything's kind of been broken out into the way it is using the dependency injection. So let's put this in here. Copy that into there. And the other one was the release notes exporter. Release notes exporter is this one. And then copy that. Put this in here. That's that one. And then there was the actual implementation. It had one. And the VCS service had one as well, so that's fine. Okay, so the last one I said was, I've forgotten which way I said them. Did I say Arthur first or did I say Artur first? Yes, indeed. They haven't got an issue on how to pronounce it, have they, Maurice? That is as well. Love it. The last pronunciation. Okay, Arthur. Let's go with that one. Perfect. Now I know. I'll forget. I will forget. But Git or is pronounced as in with a hard G. I'm not sure if that helps. GT? I'm gonna go with GT. Let's go with that. Can't believe we've got an issue. Love it. He even did a video of him saying the different implementations. Love it. Love it. Love it. Where do we get to? Yeah, no, I won't be able to hear that. Well, I could play it on my Mac, but I won't play it just now. So where do we get to? That was the release note exporter. The implementation had it. We said that the VCS service had it, and then the recipe.cake was changed there. So that was just those. So let's do 1A1 add copyright header. Copyright header to new file. Okay, let's do that. Sure. And git push. Okay, so in theory, like I say, I went through. Let's just go. Let's sanity check it. So, that was me adding those things. So I saw there. I did have one question, Arthur. Arthur. You made a change to, I think it was this one. So this one is now, no, it wasn't that one. Question that I had was around, I think it's just the folder, but I can't remember if that was as a result of this PR, or whether that was already that way and it just needs to be changed. I'll maybe do it as part of a separate PR. Oh, we changed lots of files. Put them all back. Because of the ones that I've just done. I saw you added the new core test, which is yeah, that makes total sense. But I think it's come down to, I think it's an old refactoring. Basically, what's annoying me, and it's such a trivial thing, but now that I've seen it, I will need to change it. Right, back to the start. It's the fact that the folder here is GitReleaseManager, but the project contained within it is GitReleaseManager.core. So at some point, this folder will need to be renamed to be .core, because otherwise I won't be able to sleep. That's what it comes down to. So that we'll do that later. I don't think that's part of this. So it's nothing really to worry about. It's really not. But yeah, no, I saw that you'd added a new test project which goes through tests for all the commands. That was one point of the other issue. Oh, what was it? Did we discuss that? That's probably where I got it. It's probably in this one, is it? Fix warnings and make project consistent. I bet it is. Ah, there we go. Perfect. That is where I saw it. And this is where you talked about the copyright header as well. So yeah, so we can have that discussion, but in case that discussion isn't had, or depending on the outcome of that discussion, we should make what's there just now consistent with what's in the code base. So yeah, because I saw that you added the tests for all the new commands that you'd added, which was, I mean, to show kind of one of the huge refactorings that you did is that this file here used to be like 1,000 lines long or something silly like that. So within this main program, I literally had the entire implementation of every command that could be executed, and it was in this file. So all of this has now been broken out into individual commands within here. So rather than having a method in this program.cs which was add assets, Artur has broken it out so that it's now an individual command, and then based on which option is essentially deserialized from the command line, it then knows which command to pass it to. So 500, I was exaggerating a little bit, but yeah, it's much cleaner now. So this refactoring that he's done has made it much easier to reason about. So like I said, rather than being one massive program.cs, it's this single command at the bottom now is essentially execute command, and then like I say, based on what options is passed in, it then knows which command to execute. So yeah, I liked it, like that one a lot. So I like to see that. And so he's saying, I made it similar to Spectre CLI so that we can change it easier when we switch. Yes, I like that. I like that idea too. Does that make you sleep? I think Maurice has created an issue, has he? So it might already be captured in an existing issue, but let's have a quick look to see what's here. Copy this one. It does. It does. So like I say, I don't know if you caught what we spoke about. It maybe makes sense to do this actually, because this one here may be broken up into separate issues. So we could link this one together. Associated issue, because I think that will help. Because like I say, the scope of this issue, I think, will maybe warrant multiple issues coming out of it. So it makes sense to do that, I think. I noticed that this was the other part, but that's covered in another issue as well. So the reason that this is underlined in orange is because this particular overload for the credentials class is deprecated, or it has been marked as obsolete. So that will have to come out at some point. So the reason that I can't remember if I responded to that issue or not. The reason that I'm hesitant, Arthur, is that if we look at the releases, let me remind myself about what we did and when. Add token option. No, I think we're okay then. Why did I have it in my head? Oh no, it's not the token. It's when do we mark it as obsolete? I was trying to remember, and why is it not included in the release notes? I have a feeling that we only marked it as obsolete in this release. And if we did that, I tend to leave things 2 releases before we remove them. So marking is obsolete, yes, and then as long as we've gone 2 versions or 2 releases past, then we can yank it. But if we're not quite at that point, we might defer the removing of that usage until the one after it. On November 13, it will stop working anyway. Because they're removing the API method, or because they're releasing a new version of OctoKit where it gets pulled? Okay, so that changes things. So if that is a hard deadline, then yeah, we should probably do it in this release then. And we can just mark that in the... Okay, so it's deprecated on the GitHub. Okay, in which case we should probably pull that in this release. Okay. So where do we get to? Yeah, I was looking through some of this stuff. Let's close this out because we're here. So I think the only other... What was this one? What are you showing me there? Oh, it's got a semicolon. Deprecate, yeah, so it was 10. So in theory, that it could go out. We could remove it in terms of keeping me sane. So I'm tempted to go for it. I'm tempted to say that we can merge this in, if I'm honest. I think I'm ready to... I'm ready to go. So assuming that we merge this, Arthur, what is the next thing? Because I think you've got you create a few issues with a few different ideas. Where would you want to go next in terms of changes? And I was kind of hoping Kim was going to be on the stream tonight, but he's not. So I will. I'll take the executive decision. I'll take the executive decision to merge this in. And then cool. Okay, so in theory, did that CI build finish? Or is it still running? No, it did. It finished. Why don't I see it? I'm confused now. Which one is it? Is it you're finished or you're not? Okay, so your plan would be to annex the release note and variable. Okay, so let's go for it. I think, like I said, there was nothing that stood out. It said, I really don't like it. All the changes that you made a lot of sense to me. And like I say, I gave some background at the start of the stream, but the original implementation of the VCS provider and was literally just a case of trying to get something to start the ball rolling in terms of having the ability to have another implementation. But it quickly didn't go anywhere because I started trying to do a GitLab provider, and what I quite quickly found out was that the GitLab API doesn't provide all of the functionality that we needed to do a full implementation of GitReleaseManager for GitLab. So it kind of stopped, and it was still functional. It was part of the way down the road that it needed to go to be broken apart completely into a way that made sense. But it kind of halted because I never continued with that scope of work to get the GitLab implementation done. Hi Stevie, how are you? How are you? Okay, I'm gonna do that. I'm gonna merge this. We're gonna do it. We are gonna say so I did see this, but I don't think I was necessarily concerned by it. One alert. New variable, this.target milestone may be null here as suggested by this null check. So yes, that was the thinking. Yes. So the way that I treat projects like this, and I think this maybe come up in one of the issues we discussed, is that I tend to write utility tools like this using the default way that I personally use it. So that's kind of why certain messages are the way they are, certain footers are the way they are, etc. And that kind of goes towards this one as well. Like my hope would be that the way that I have Git Release Manager set up in all my projects that are on GitHub, they should continue to work as is. So if the provider option isn't passed in, it will default to GitHub. If you do explicitly pass it in, you're explicitly making a choice, an informed choice, that you're using something other, or you're being explicit about your usage of GitHub. Either way. So yes, it would be a new command line option that basically said, use this provider, or use this provider, or use this provider. That was my thought process as well. Yeah. Okay, I'm not too concerned about that null check. I'm kind of hoping that if we do go down the route in terms of the fixing of the warnings and errors, if we introduce more static analyses into this, we'll catch some of these things as the refactoring continues. So I'm not concerned about that one really. So I'm gonna do it. Let's do it. Let's say I didn't actually give my review. So let's do this. Let's say looks good to me with an exclamation point. We'll approve it. And we will go down to the bottom and we will say merge pull request. And we'll say huge thank you for all the work I've done in SPR. Really appreciate it. Appreciate it. There we go. Okay. So file. So based on what you said then, Artur, you were going to go and the next thing that you were going to be looking at would be the username and password. So if you're happy to, did you want to continue that work? I've got about another hour or so on this stream, so I'm going to go off and I'm going to go and rename that folder just because otherwise I won't be able to sleep. I'll fix that one, and then we can start taking a look at any other issues that we want to bring up, and we can maybe go back and have a discussion about these warnings as well. There are some points we could keep in mind in case of the cake add-on. Can you elaborate on that one a little bit? Just to make sure that we're on the same page. So that's that one. So I believe there is a cake. So okay, so strictly speaking, there is a set of cake aliases, but they are shipped as part of Cake Core. So there's not a standalone add-in for Git Release Manager, but there is a set of aliases that we need to update. So, and then Marisa saying, I believe you deprecated the use of the username and password in Cake GRM as well. Then we should change. Agreed. So, if and when we ship a new version of Git Release Manager that includes removal of those removal of that functionality, we would also then need to update the Git Release Manager aliases within Cake. Yes, absolutely, we would need to do that. That's a good shout. Agreed. But that, I mean, we're at the behest of the Cake release cycle for that going out. But there's a larger discussion within the Cake team whether we want to at some point remove the aliases from cake.common and make it a standalone NuGet package rather than being shipped as part of the Cake project itself, so that their release cycle can be faster. So that's a discussion for a different day as well. It's amazing how quite quickly some of these things can become intertwined. But that's kind of where we are. Let's rename this one .core. See what that does. So git checkout develop. That may or may not work. Git stash. Let's stash all of those. Oh, I forgot something, didn't I? I did. Dang it. Git stash apply. Oh, I don't like the look of that. What am I doing? 140. Love it. But that's just because we moved a bunch of stuff and deleted a bunch of stuff from the folder. I think that in itself is okay. That's fine. So let's do this. Let's make sure that we add everything. Go git stash, git checkout develop, git fetch upstream, git rebase upstream develop. What was the number of that issue that Maurice created? 269. Git push origin. Git checkout -b h dash 269. Is that what I said? Yes. From develop, git stash apply, git commit -m th269 renamed folder to project. Okay. I'm curious as to what happened there. Curious. Gotta love Git sometimes. See what I actually did there. Make sure it was the right thing that I wanted to do. So renamed it. All of those files got moved. Renamed it. That was the solution file. Renamed it. Okay. Git push origin. That'll say that it didn't work. Ooh. I'm gonna try out my new tool as well here. I should be able to use the GitHub command line client to create a build. Create a PR. GH PR H. How do we create one? I'll come back to your question in a second, Maurice. There's a good reason I didn't do it, and that's why I want to push the PR up so that the CI build will run. So create fill. Do not prompt for title body and just use commit info. Ooh, I like that. You can make it as draft. You can label it milestone, reviewer. Oh, look at that. So what happens if I do that then? Git PR create. Creating a pull request for feature GH269 into develop. And so this one is currently being tracked against my origin. And then into develop on there. So what if the repo has a template? How will that work? I don't know. This is all new to me, Maurice. So title is going to be GH269 rename folder to match project. Okay, that sounds good. Body, E to enter, E to launch notepad, enter to skip. E to enter then. Oh, look at that. So that answers your question then. So this is taking that's pretty clever. That's pretty clever. So related issue is going to be let's get a link to it. This one. Related issue is that one. Motivation and context. Once I saw that it wasn't correct, I wouldn't be able to sleep tonight, so had to be fixed. How has this been tested? It hasn't. Leaving it up to CI build to test. Screenshots if appropriate. Go over all the following. My code follows the, absolutely it does. My changes require change to the documentation. No, it doesn't. No, I haven't. I have read, once upon a time I did, yes. I have added tests. No, I didn't. All new and existing, I don't know the answer to that question. So, provide a general summary of the changes that you have made. Fixes 269 completed, updated. Come on, updated. Seriously, updated folder name to match project name. This brings consistency to the folder structures for other projects. Look at that. Save. Close. Submit. Oh, look at that. Continue in browser, add metadata, or cancel. I'm going to say submit and see what that does. I just got a Slack notification. Oh, look at that. I am genuinely impressed with that. And I mean genuinely impressed. I mean, that has just submitted a PR, created a PR, taking into account the template that is required. That's pretty clever. And hats off to the creators of that tool, because yeah, I like it a lot. So we should check to see if this fit. So the reason I didn't build it locally, Maurice, is because I did that earlier when I tried to build Arthur's PR, and I don't have the right .NET SDK installed to complete the unit tests. So I left it up to the AppBear build to test that, and I'm doing it here as well. It's not the best of excuses in the world, but it's the only one I've got, so I'm going to stick with it. What have I missed? Is drawing a new office layout in SketchUp before I move anything considered excessive? Asking for a friend. I don't know. I'll be honest. Have you measured everything to the closest millimeter, so you can ensure that it's all going to fit? And have you left adequate space for the piano? Thought so. Thought so. Good man. So, did I put the description in the wrong place? I did. Let's just update that. Put that in there. It's probably a good point as well. Have you measured to the closest thousandth of an inch? It certainly is. It certainly is. Okay. So before we finish that part, we should probably go over to here and say it's not really a feature, it's more of a build consideration, and we'll put that out as part of 0.12. Just the next one, we will do this. I'm assuming all of that builds. I'm going to merge that in. Did you see my message, Stevie? Work-related chat. Did you see the message about Rob's suggestion? Just so I can say I've passed on my message. Did you see where that? No, I did not. Oh, I didn't get a Slack notification. Were they happy with that? That's... Dang it. So, beautiful. So hopefully the same problem on Wednesday is going to be rectified by that same thing then. Fingers crossed. Fingers crossed. But no, thank you for following up with that. Appreciate it. Okay, cool. Sounds good. Cool. There's still a lingering issue with chocolatey gooey for that same person, but I haven't been able to trace that one down yet. I've just seen Joel's message as well. That's good news. Oh, that succeeded. So I'm gonna YOLO that PR in, I believe, because I'm happy with that. Nothing should have changed there from that perspective. Yeah, I'm gonna YOLO that in. Okay, so let's go back and have a look at some of the other comments that Artur made in this issue. We fix that one. This one. So, analysing the repo, I've noticed a few things which might be worth a fix. Over 60 warnings, yeah, that's a given. They should be fixed. Consolidate the Microsoft.NET Core app package for the projects. Currently, the project uses versions 2, 2.1, and 2.2. I think that makes sense too. So let's just sanity check that is still the case, or if as part of the refactoring that got changed. There we go. So we don't need to do that one. So maybe let's do this. Let's edit this and let's put some of these in so that we can do this. So we can keep a track of it. Do this. Over 60 warnings. Yep, we should do that. Consolidate that. Folder. Okay. Let's update that. And let's add this. And we will say edit this again. So this becomes kind of an epic, if you like, so we can break this down into individual issues. So we'll update that to say we did that, and we shall get a link to that PR, which is this one. Copy, and then I edit this again. Completed as part of this one. We did that one. Okay. Move extension classes to the extensions folder. I'm going to guess that that part was done as well. I believe there were certainly some new extensions created. No, exceptions. Am I reading that wrong? Move extension classes to extensions folder. So extension, string extensions. Okay, so that was done maybe as part of that then, was it? Extensions, no. So there's some other ones here. Okay, we can do that. So let's do this then. See, is that worth a second issue? We've kind of started that process now, so we should maybe continue with it. Let's do it. Let's be good citizens and say what we're going to do. Copy. Sure. I'm gonna cheat. I'm not that much of a good citizen. It's not worth it. Relates to this one. And this is gonna be it doesn't really milestone. I'll go out in this one. Submit new issue. Copy. Okay, 271. Git checkout develop. Git fetch upstream. Git rebase upstream develop. Git push origin. Git checkout might be. Now I think there's some stuff in here for. Have a look. Issue, create, PR. Repositories. Maybe not. Maybe not. Sure, let's go with that. Git checkout -b feature GH271. Is that what I said? I think it was 271. It was. Okay, so in here we want to pick this guy up and put him into here. Yep, I had that thought in my head, but thank you. I'm going to put this in here too, and then I was going to check to see that there wasn't any others. So there's AutoKit, there's strings, and there's milestones. So that's them all in there. So this becomes dot extensions. Now this might break stuff, so we need to be aware of that. That's why we have CI. String extensions. I suspect that will break stuff. So let's see if the build, how far the build gets. need to update to the latest cake.recipe as well, because we fixed a bunch of this stuff. Oh, I'm on a much older one. That's a different day as well. I can also make the changes tomorrow in one run if you want. So I mean, so the way that my streams normally work, Arthur, is I've got like a dedicated 2-hour slot of a Monday evening where I have sign off from the wife to say that I can be not disturbed. So I've currently got 43 minutes left to do some stuff, and tonight GitReleaseManager is getting some attention. So I'll keep knocking off some of the smaller ones, and then whatever's left, maybe if you are willing, you can do that. You can help with some of that if you want. So GitHub profile, and they're both in GitHub profile by the look of it. So GitHub profile version. We all want to see the document. I've got it tattooed on my shoulder. No, not really. Using GitReleaseManager.core.extensions is what I want in there. And looking at the other one, maybe that was the only one. Let's try the build again. But no, she gets my wife goes out and does. She's a runner, so she gets to go out running when she wants to. So I get my 2 hours on a Monday evening to do some stuff on the computer, which is where this whole stream came from. And I get to learn stuff from folks in the chat room. I get to hack on some projects, and it's a dedicated time slot just to try and get a few things done. And like I say, what I tend to do is I tend to go kind of round robin between projects. So we did a couple of streams on cake.recipe. We did a couple of streams on we did a stream on Boxstarter. We did a stream on, I forget what they were now, but I tend to go around in circles. So maybe this stream, and perhaps the stream after, like maybe next week, we continue. Oh, that's not good. That's a completely unrelated issue. Oh, that's not good. That's not good at all. What's the command for? What's the command for emptying NuGet caches? Empty all get caches. This one. Okay. Locals all clear. Watch how much space this saves me. So we went from literally 0 to 3.8 gigabytes to 4.64 gigabytes. Amazing. NuGet downloaded the world. Get volume, drive letter C, format volume. Let's do it. I'm going to copy and paste some PowerShell. I'm not going to do that. I'm not going to do that. I'm going to try running that build again and see how much of the internet is downloaded. I didn't have any issues with hard drive space on this machine until I did the Boxstarter build last week. And all of the stuff that it added as part of its build process has eaten up my hard drive space. I may have to rebuild this VM, or if nothing else, give it a second hard drive and put some of the stuff over there. But let's wait for can see it going down already because it's restoring NuGet packages again. I'm hoping that there's not going to be 4.62 gigabytes of. Oh, it's going down quite quick. Access to the path. Curious. If at first you don't succeed, run the build again. Interesting. Okay. Well, there's only really one thing that can be holding that open and causing problems. So let's try that again. See if it works. Okay. I'm kind of confused as to what's going on there. And why that's causing a problem. Not chocolatey today. Get tools. Get release. I'm gonna try one more time. No, VS Code's closed. Oh, you can't see it. No, VS Code did close. I was hiding in the way, but no, it did close it out. I'm very, very confused. I'm going to clear them all out again. Failed to delete. Oh, that doesn't bode well, does it? C users vagrant dot NuGet packages. Try again. Who's using this thing? Still a .NET exe process kicking about. Yeah, I'm gonna. Huh. Very strange. Why a tool like Hawk Hunter is invaluable for this kind of thing. Go away. Is it still got? See? Okay. Right. So now, okay. Having done that, can we now run the build? And will my hard drive space completely full up again? Two point 4.62 going down again. Not sure how. The error that it was complaining about though, Maurice, was specifically for that source link DLLs, so I think we're okay. Almost half a gigabytes of NuGet packages restored. Still going. There we go. Build's running again. There is a version that allows to happen. Sorry, I'm getting distracted by a question on Slack. And I'm going to have to answer it because did I put it on for test? Where did I put it? I mentioned you in a issue where I tested using a token with cake.recipe 1.1.0 and it worked as expected. You shouldn't to write anything to get it to work. Let me see if I can find the issue that created. Can we come on a call tomorrow to talk through it in the middle of my stream? Yes. Okay, so where did it get to? Child mode. Lots of errors. So that's fine. Diagnostic. Build failed. Why is it failing? Child node 2 exited prematurely, shutting down. Diagnostic information may be found in and will be renamed. This location, I don't understand what that's saying to me. I'm tempted to push this and try it. Yeah. DH-271. Move extensions. Extension classes to extensions folder to be consistent. Hi Jericho. So everyone, I was just talking to Jericho on Slack. So give me 1 second. Let me see if I can find the issue that I was talking about. Not there. No. This one? No. I normally keep tabs open for things like this. So let me see if I can find the one that you're talking about. No, I must have closed it. Okay, but in terms of, so let me try and make sure that we're talking about the same thing in Jericho. So you have a GitHub account that you've enabled two-factor authentication on, correct? And in order to make use of GitReleaseManager via cake.recipe, you want to use a personal access token, correct? I'm waiting for another yes. Perfect. Okay, so in terms of cake.recipe 1.1.0, the way to do that is to put the token as the password. And the OctoKit does the right thing. So under the hood, GitReleaseManager uses OctoKit, and it should use that password, or the token value that you put as the password variable should go through. And I understand. So don't get me wrong. I understand what you're saying. So GitReleaseManager has support for that. So GitReleaseManager today has that token support. We were actually just speaking about that on the stream tonight, because we're actually in the process, or Artur is going to rip out the support for username and password, because going forward, as of November the 13th, it's only the token is going to be used. So changing my environment variable didn't work for me. So okay, well, let's make sure we're talking about the same thing. So which environment variable are you referring to? And so which project are we talking about here? So can I look at it? Is it a project that if it's on if it's a Cake contrib, then you shouldn't need to do anything. But if it's for something else, which one are you trying to do it for? Yep, that sounds like the right. So if you put your token into there, that will flow through cake.recipe into GitReleaseManager, and that will be used to authenticate, and it'll work. And I proved that to myself. I can't find where I proved it to myself though. I proved it to myself by creating a release by doing exactly that. On which project then? And what was the? Okay, which project was it? Because I would love to get to the bottom of this for you, because I know it works. where another extension class lives. Maybes. Like I said, so which project is this on? Am I able to look at it to have a play with it? GHPR create. Oh, I can't do that yet. No, can't do that yet. Git push origin. I'm gonna take that, paste that into there. I'm listening. I know. So cake.recipe is about yay far to releasing 2.0 release, which has support for a token. Yay far. Oh, it's there. It's there. It's. Oh, did you not? Oh, did you not? Were you not part of that? You missed that. So do choco install gh-y. So gh is the GitHub command line. Well, you can, and we'll do that then. So use the pre-release version of cake.recipe. So even this project. So do cake. Well, that might not work. So because you'll have other stuff you need to fix. This project, GitReleaseManager itself, uses a pre-release version of cake.recipe. And I know it's so it's not only on GitHub. It's not only on GitHub packages, it's also on Azure Artifacts. So you can get it over there as well if you want. So you can get it on MyGet, you can get it on GitHub packages, and you can get it on Azure Artifacts. So I'm using it from Azure Artifacts here. So I'll put this into the chat room if you want. Copy. We have. So hold on. Let me remind myself. So github.com/cakecontrib/cake.recipe. Pull requests. Thank you, Maurice. From author Jericho. Huh. I spelled your name wrong. I'm like, where's 23 closed? Add support for in there. That went into there. And this went out on you see. So it's very it's very close. It's there. You can have it today. There is a version of cake.recipe hosted on the Azure Artifacts feed that will have full support for token directly. But you may, depending on the project, there are breaking changes in 2.0 which you would need to address in your usage of it. So yeah. But again, if you tell me the project that it's on, I would love to take a look at it to figure out what's going on. Because it does work today. Today it does work. I promise. With 1.1.2, whatever it is of cake.recipe, it works today. So, but if the issue's on your machine, then it may well still be an issue when you get the new version of cake.recipe, correct? If it is an environment specific issue, then it may still cause a problem. What was I doing? I was going to go and look at the. Getting myself confused. You can go away. You can go away. You over here. You know what? Doesn't matter. Copy. Delayed issue. To save our sanity. It hasn't. Pushing to CI build. Checklist. My code follows. Absolutely does. No. No, I have. No, and no. Not for the PR. No. I'll be a little bit better with the PR. Consolidate all extension classes into the extensions folder for consistency, and then fixes. Fixes 271. I still think this is amazing, by the way. The fact that it does this continue in browser. Let's do that this time. Let's see what that does. Continue in browser. What does that do? Oh, look at that. And then I could say request a PR from review from someone. Oh, genuinely amazed by this tool. Extensions. We added that. Let's see what the CI build tells us. So would you be around tomorrow at some point, Jericho, to jump on a Zoom call, just to satisfy my own curiosity about what's going on? I would love to get to the bottom of this for you, other than shipping a new version of Kick the Recipe. So there are some documentation changes that need to be added, which may prevent shipping a 2.0 release. did get 13 page. We're going to find out soon. I probably did. I probably did. And if I did, I've got 15 minutes to fix it. Joking aside, I suspect the issue is something like I changed the environment variable in the PowerShell window, but this changes my user the recipe is reading the machine level one. You could alter your recipe.cake file to read the contents of that environment variable and print it out, obviously just running locally, to prove that out to yourself. So you could literally just do environment variable, information, environment variable, GitHub password, and see what's written, see what is being used, and that would answer that part of it. Possibly that too. I can't remember if Jericho is a chocolate user or not. He should be. Because obviously you only get the benefit of the refresh env command if you are a chocolate user. Good man. It's written on the hat. It's written on the hat. Doing the subliminal marketing every time I'm on stream. That's why I get paid the big bucks. That's right. That build worked. So I'm not sure. I'm not entirely clear on why it's not running properly on my machine. That's a job for a different day. So copy this one. I'm going to edit this one and say issue here. Gasp. Is it your Veeam stroke chocolatey t-shirt? Should be. On Boxstar. So was there a GHPR? Is there a merge now as well? Oh, there is, look. I can merge a pull request. Oh, I might have to do that. I might have to just see how it works. Merge. Well, we'll have to do PR list to start with. I'll give you the number. And then merge 272. I'm going to do that when it's finished. Oh, you were that early. Did I realize that? I mean, not a lot of people have those chocolate hoodies. Did I? I'm trying to remember if I knew that, Jericho, or not. Because that was from the original Kickstarter. Make one of those for me and I'll wear it. You see, that's back in the day, the first Kickstarter, or well, the only Kickstarter, but it kind of kicked off everything else. So yeah, I appreciate it. So 272. So I'm going to say that build succeeded. So I'm going to, from my command line, I'm now going to merge that PR. Oh, look at that. So I can rebase and merge. I can squat. So these are the same suggestions that I can get from here. That's pretty cool. So I'm going to create a merge commit. What? Look at that. Did it do it? Oh, genius. Merge. Look at that. Okay, I like this tool more and more. Although the UI seems to be out of whack a little bit. There we go. Genius. Okay. So we can say we've done that one. Suppress global suppressions for. Okay, so that's a question. We need to discuss some of these maybe. Remove the file header. So do we remove the file header or do we not? I don't know if Arthur is still in the chat or not. October 19th marks my 2-year of chocolate packages. First one submitted in 2018. Look at that. How many packages are you up to now, Maurice? Arthur's vote is to remove it. Classes in Git version project don't contain any file header. A class rename doesn't change the file name in the header, which causes a warning and increases the maintenance effort. It causes more work than when. Yeah, agreed. I don't disagree with that. There is there is an ongoing discussion within the Git version team about something, Artur. I can't really say too much more than that at the minute. But because of that discussion in the back of my head, I'm going to say we leave the file headers in at the minute. Now, if and when that discussion is had properly, we can come back and revisit this one. Is that okay? I know I'm being a little bit cryptic there, but I can't really say too much more at the minute. So I'm going to say that we would leave that one in just now. Using definitions above the namespace. Visual Studio creates using definitions above the namespace. So currently new definitions must always be placed below the namespace. So we can fix that a couple of ways. One would be to make the necessary modifications to an editor.config file so that Visual Studio accepted where we wanted to go, or we can disable the rule that says to put them there, and then we just have to make everything consistent. Originally, I was very adamant. There was a couple of good reasons where the using statements within the namespace made certain things or certain error cases happen or not happen. Sorry. So I got into the habit of using statements within the namespace. Those have kind of proven out to not really be as dangerous as they originally thought they were going to be. So I'm not against it. So we would need to modify the style cop rule to ignore that one, and then we need to go through and put them all in the right place. Oh, I'm saying that I don't think there is one. I don't think it's set up properly. So this editor config file, so at the minute, there is no editor.config file for the namespaces. But if we were to look at editor config names using inside namespace, then if we were to add, oh, there's geared, look, add editor config option to specify should go by default, blah, blah, blah. What was the outcome of this? This should be fixed via here. I clicked on something. It's thinking. Add imports, namespace style caustic, blah, blah, blah. Yeah. So I believe, if there's is there an example? So let's search for that again. Editor config using inside IDE. What does this say? Mention categories. There we go, look. .NET separate import directive groups. .NET. There we go, look. We would need to add this. So regardless of which decision we take, we need to make them consistent. But by making this change into the editor config file, we could help with Visual Studio to do that. So outside namespace, and the option is silent. So in theory, if for example we were to do this, and let's test this. So this will be my test, and then I'll need to go away. So we're going to say inside namespace, and the what's the suggestion level is silent suggestion. let's put this as a suggestion to try and bump up a little bit. I don't know what the levels are. So if we were to go now into Visual Studio, with that editor config file change and create a new class, then I think it'll put the usings inside the namespace. Cool. Let me know. Chat. Good day. Setup. Are you kidding me? Really? Just want to see it work. Don't want to have to rerun the installer. I don't really want to have to run the update just to run Visual Studio. Really? I don't know how long it's going to take. I don't know if you're in a position to test that, Artur, but if you were to take this, I'm going to paste in there. If you were to take that and put that into the editor config file, would a new class that you created in Visual Studio, would it be inside the namespace? I think it would. And like I say, then we just need to decide whether we are adhering to it or not. But it would, either way, we should put that in place so that we make it and we document that that is the way we want things done. So if nothing else, we should put it in some way, shape, or form. Getting messages on Slack. I really should switch off Slack when I am on a stream. Remind me, Maurice, about what you just said in Slack, because I'm going to forget. There is the answer is yes, I think we should, but there are technical challenges that would prevent that happening at the minute, as you saw when we tried to bring a deal onto the stream last week. So did I not just paste it in the chat? I think I did. So Artur, if you look up, there we go, perfect. There's maybe a slight lag between what I'm saying and what you're saying. But there's technical difficulties, Maurice, that may prevent that from happening until I figure out how to get stuff working. So I have a plan for that, but we need to test it. So maybe not. It might be a couple streams down the line is what I'm getting at. So maybe a job for another day. But I'm gonna close some of this stuff off in preparation for switching the stream off. But just as a recap, before my plan at the minute would be to do GitReleaseManager again next week. So if you're around for next week's stream, Artur, you're more than welcome to come in the chat room. And it sounds like, based on you doing some work, we might be in a position to do some more work here. And we need to look at what's still in the pipeline for GitReleaseManager and prepare for the next release, I guess. So if you are around for that, that would be great. If not, we can communicate via GitHub issues and stuff. So like I say, in terms of my cycle of open source stuff, GitReleaseManager is kind of the main focus at the minute. So I'll be spending a bit of time on this going forward. As you can see, Jericho is also wanting a release of cake.recipe at some point, but we're about yay close to getting a cake.recipe release out. So hopefully I can work on both of those in tandem, and we can progress this out. Because, like I say, it would be good for me at some point to go back and look again at the GitLab implementation of Git Release Manager. Now that brings up questions in terms of the provider option that you spoke about, and obviously Spectre CLI, whether we bring that in as well. So there's a few things that need to get lined up, and then there's also obviously the GT, or however we pronounce it, implementation that person was working on as well. So there's a few things that the balls start falling into place. So it's good. Cool, that'd be good. I appreciate your help on this. Git Release Manager is one of those tools that it does what I need it to do. So it's only through contributions like yourself that it moves forward. So it's something that the refactoring that you did it's been sorely needed for a while. But it's one of those things that it works as well. So is yeah, that's a lame excuse. It really is, but it's kind of the reality of the situation. There was nobody to push it where it needs to go, because it's functional as it is, but that's no reason to not progress it forward. So just a case of deciding which battles to fight. See, that's one way to describe it. But no, I think you're right. I mean, it's like I say, the initial refactor that I did was more about just trying to decide what needs to be broken out, and then that's kind of where the IVCS provider came from. But yeah, going through the actual process of forcing better segregation because of the implementation of the DI container, I think that helped shape that quite a lot. So no, like I said, I love what you did with the whole program.cs and the breaking that out into commands. I mean, I like it a lot. I like it a lot. So how much longer can I hold out here? I kind of want to see if this works now. Because if it does, what I should really do, one of the other tools that I have, he says, OSS, what's in here? I have this thing called the CI/CD Assets VS Code that is an extension for Visual Studio that when I'm setting up a new project, it simply downloads files from this repository. And in here, I have kind of a default editor.config file that I use. It's very basic though. So something like that change would go back into my CI/CD assets repository, because then this becomes the editor config file that I use for new project setup. Perfect, Chris, thank you. So this repository has my defaults for a few of the kind of setup files that I use on a repository. Git ignore, git attributes, etc. Git release manager. Oh, I need to update this one. This one needs updated to include the updating of issues on the milestone when it gets closed. Oh, there's so many new things I need to put in here. So many things to do. So many things to do. Okay, I'm going to give this until 1/4 and if we're not done by 1/4, then we will close it out. Where can I find the project for Azure DevOps Git Release Manager? That is over here. Let me find it for you. GitHub, Git Duels. So another Arthur handles that part. So he puts it into you said Azure DevOps. Let me just make sure we're talking about the same thing. Visual Studio Code Marketplace. Azure DevOps. No, we don't have a. What did you say? Where can I find the project for Azure DevOps GRM extension? I don't think we have one. So is it this one that you use? I'm getting myself confused now. I know that Artur created GitHub Actions. Get tools. But I'm signed in here, so if it was a private repository, it would appear here. Yes. Absolutely, Maurice. Have a good night. And yeah, if you remind me, we can have a chat tomorrow. Because it seems to be a bunch of tasks. Is the name of it gettool.gettools though? Oh, so it does live under actions, look. So is that what it is? Oh, it does look. Sorry, so this actions repository includes both GitHub Actions and the Azure pipeline tasks. So if we look at the source folder here, then tasks, GitReleaseManager, yeah. So it's in this one here. So this Artur is the guy behind that. So that is the repository that you're after. So in here, if we were to do a create on here, GitHub Actions, it doesn't actually. Oh, you're very welcome. Let's have a look. Where does this take us? So here's an example of doing a create. There we go. Create a release with GitReleaseManager, token, repository, etc. So it is there. So where do we ship the docs to? Docs are shipped to. See, that's a little confusing in my mind that It's called actions, but maybe that was just. I think what's happened is because there's now more of a synergy between GitHub Actions and GitHub and Azure DevOps. The TypeScript tasks now work in both. Yes, because so if we do the work, which is to bring in that provider option, then there's lots of places that we need to, not lots of places, but there's a few places that we need to update. The GitHub Actions being one of them, the Azure DevOps tasks being another, the cake aliases being another. I think that would be it though. There wouldn't be too much more on top of that. Right, we're getting very close. Getting very close. Installing 99%. Come on. Finishing up. Come on. It's going to be this. Oh, no. It's going to be this issue where the last 1% is going to take the longest, isn't it? Come on. Come on. Oh, come on. Seriously? I'm going to close off some of these things. Preparation again for. Let's just clean up my recycle bin while I'm here too. What else can I do while I'm waiting? Come on. Oh, there we go. Right. Done. Visual Studio. Run this time. Come on. Is it going to work? I think it's getting farther than it did last time. There we go. So then if we do file open recent, it's not there. So open project or solution, organizations. Come on. Git tools, GitReleaseManager, source solution. So with that addition to the editor, let's. No, I should have it. Loading project. Oh, really? Oh, I'm at quarter past. I'm at my deadline. I can't stop now though. Right. So if we go into, let's just pick one, into the core project. Into the core project. There we go. And then let's just right click, add class. Test. Dun dun dun. Dun dun. No, it didn't work. I wonder though. Let me just check something. There is no standalone editor config file extension anymore, is there? It's included out of the box, isn't it? That's for See, do I still need that? Or does it know about it? It was my belief that search, what was it called? Using namespace. Code style. Generate from settings. Formatting. Generate edit config file from settings. See, it is there. So what did that create for us? I feel myself going off on a little tangent here, but I'm also genuinely curious about this. Namespace. See, by default, it was saying open file. Did we get it right? Namespace. Try to put this over here. C# using placement namespace. Now I took a guess. Oh, hold on. The editor config file is still saying outside. Did I not change that? CD organizations. I'm wondering if I didn't save the file. Git tools, GitReleaseManager. I don't think I saved the file now that I see this. Or is there already one there? Directive. No? Oh, hold on. It was in the wrong place. I've got two editor config files. That's bad. Okay, so let's do another test. So let's close Visual Studio. Yeah, I'm going to get this working. Let's close Visual Studio and let's open up this guy. We've already got it open. So we're going to say this one. We're going to say inside. Really? Okay, so it's did it. Getting annoyed at this thing. Right, inside namespace. So back to Visual Studio. And if we go File, Recent Projects and Solutions, Git Release Manager. And if this does work, this shouldn't impact on any of your other projects. So if in your other projects you have the default of outside namespace, the editor config changes should only be on a per project basis. So you load the solution up in Visual Studio, it adapts to those changes as per the editor config file, and they apply to this project. But you open another project and then go back to the way it was before. So let's see if this helped. So it won't apply to this file, but if we go back to here again into core and say, come on, add class test1.cs, does it do? Did it again? Oh, but hold on. Hold on. Var path equals new file. I'll work with here with Visual Studio. You see, now I'm debating something. Using system.io. Is that the I wasn't expecting that to go there either. Oh, look at that. So I'm convinced that this is possible. I think I'm doing something wrong. So there was two things that were going through my head there. The first one is when you do a new file, you're generating that from a template. So those three that are included by default might always be there. But I did think that adding explicitly the using system.io, I did expect that to go within the namespace. So I'm going to have to figure this out now because it's going to bug me. I'm not going to do it tonight though because I need to go to bed. But I'm relatively convinced that this should work. So I think I'm missing something. But that's for a different day. So anyway, I think we can get this to work. So I think we're on the same page in terms of as long as we come to an agreement with regard to what we want to do, we want to make sure that there isn't added overhead in applying those changes. So if we can get to a point where Visual Studio is doing the right thing in terms of adding new namespaces, putting them in the right place, etc., then we should force it to do that. Okay, cool. Perfect. Right. In which case, I'm going to go to bed and I will keep an eye out for any PRs that you send in and we can have a chat on GitHub to go through those. And like I say, same time next week, if you're around, will probably be another Git Release Manager stream. So come along if you can. Okay. For now, though, thanks everyone. And I will talk to you on the internet. Bye bye.